Coming up, should we be talking to the Taliban? We're going to have a reaction to a Senate committee report suggesting that the Canadian military should negotiate with the insurgents.
The responsibility to negotiate with the Taliban rests with the government of Afghanistan and the Taliban, not with Canada. We don't think we should give up on the opportunity to collect information or to get a better reading of where they are.
Well, Senator Colin Kenny, chair of the Senate Defense Committee, says Canadian troops and diplomats should initiate talks with the Taliban. The comments come from a new report by the committee that says every effort needs to be made to win over moderate Taliban supporters. It is a suggestion the Harper government has in the past strongly opposed. Joining us this morning from Ottawa is Scott Taylor, publisher of Esprit de Corps magazine. He has just returned from a 2-week trip to Afghanistan. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Well, what do you think of this idea? It's certainly been talked about many times in the past. Peter MacKay, though, saying that we had no intention of talking to the Taliban. Should we?
Well, I think McKay is the only one out of step on this, because we've looked back and the British were recommending talking to the Taliban about 6 months ago. I mean, we've had Hamid Karzai's government itself saying that they need the latitude to negotiate with these people, reminding people that, again, that these are still Afghan citizens. They still have about 32% popular support, mostly in the south of Afghanistan. They've got leaders that range from moderate to extreme. I mean, to sort of brand all Taliban equals terrorist, and we won't negotiate that. I mean, that's very much the American mantra. And you just can't simplify Afghanistan to that degree where it's good and bad, because, of course, we have seen also that the Karzai government is very corrupt, and we're propping them up, and people are then associating us with the corruption and then turning sort of their enmity towards the NATO forces. So we need to look at something different, and certainly the people inside, I think, as the report says, the Afghan government itself is eager to negotiate, and we should allow them that latitude.
Well, and on the negotiation front, I mean, isn't there already some form or fashion of indirect talks? I mean, we know members of the military that go into the villages and talk to elders, and there are messages sent through other people intended for moderate Taliban members. So how much communication is already there?
Well, I think people need to realize there's also, I mean, there's representation in the Karzai government. I mean, we spoke with a guy named Mullah Rockety, which is basically like Reverend Bazooka. He was an RPG gunner. He became a warlord. He became a mullah with the Taliban. And since then, I mean, he ran in the elections, and he got a mandate from the province of Zabul to represent those people, but based on the fact that he was a Taliban leader. So he is a moderate serving in the parliament. He's already there. I mean, to say we don't negotiate is very simplistic, and it just shows, I mean, Peter MacKay is either unaware or he's just trying to make things easier to follow the American lead. When you've got our soldiers saying that on the ground level, at that grassroots level, they're trying to get some word out, you know, for their own security, for the security of the villagers. I mean, that we want to negotiate, at least bring an understanding to the table. To just simply dismiss them and turn them into, you know, enemies of NATO forces when it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, I think that's a mistake, that we're missing an opportunity there.
And the Senate committee also saying that it would be unrealistic to think that we could leave by 2011. And given the fact that Harper has secured the backing of an additional 1,000 more troops from the United Nations, the Senate committee saying we need at least 4,000 to make a difference. What do you think?
Well, again, I don't know what the 4,000 would do. I mean, unless they're prepared to extend the operations inside the Pakistan border. And that's obviously a sore point for everybody we talked to, you know, doing our unembedded tour. I mean, was always pointing to the finger to the fact that these things are coming in. A lot of the Taliban mullahs are stirring up in their madrasas these students to come in and commit attacks against NATO forces from there. So if we don't sort of cut off the source, we're never going to win. And I spoke with the head of Afghan intelligence, and he said to me, he said, you know, Canada's got this 2011 commitment. He said, if you're not prepared to change what you're doing, change the tactics, you may as well go home right now, because, you know, it's not about a timing. It's not about showing a commitment for a certain set piece of time. Either we get the job done, which includes, in his mind, having the latitude to allow the Afghan government to, you know, negotiate some sort of resolution, as opposed to just simply, you know, battling these people and killing more and more Afghans, including collateral damage.
Scott Taylor, always good to get your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you.